Hello everyone, it's Infinity Break, coming at you today with yet another theory video. Now I know you guys, and you guys know me. I love doing theories, you guys love hearing theories. You guys always have new theories for me. And everybody's coming to me with new ideas left and right, and I just gotta make some videos for you. I've been with the mod reviews as of late, a little bit caught up with those, but I'm taking some time today to do a theory, and then next week I'm gonna follow up with another theory. I'm probably gonna do a theory once a week to be safe. Maybe if there are a lot of them, I'll try to get one or two if they're smaller ones done in 1 week. Maybe. There's no set schedule, but just expect like at least once a week to have a theory of some sort. One video on it, and that should be manageable. But yes, today I have a new theory for you guys, and it's actually involving the Direnni Tower and the towers or pillars of the world. If you guys remember that from my last video, I'll go over in this video, but just understand it's going to involve the Thalmor yet again, and the idea behind the Direnni Tower, which is a unique tower within Daggerfall, which I'm going to get into, like I said, right now. So yes, before I get into it, proper credit where credit is due. This video topic is actually brought to me from some comments on the "Will the name Redfall mean the end of the Empire" video I made a while ago. There are two individuals that I actually have to thank for the topic of this video. The first person is actually David Williams, who actually gave this idea to me a long time ago when that video first came out, and that video came out like I think 3 months ago, so I actually forgot entirely about that comment, and I feel bad. But the second person is a wonderful individual by the name of Spoonman. Both of these wonderful people had actually pointed out the idea that the Direnni Tower could somehow be involved with the plot of Elder Scrolls 6. The reason that this might actually be true is because everybody is speculating, and I am also speculating, that the Elder Scrolls 6 will take place either in Hammerfell or somewhere around the Iliac Bay. I'm feeling it might be the Iliac Bay, but I also feel like it could very well be Hammerfell. It could actually be both Daggerfall, or High Rock I should say, and Hammerfell. And if it is, then that's going to be freaking awesome. And if it is actually, then we could actually very well see the Direnni Tower make an appearance in the game, and it might be a central plot point of the story of the game. And the reason that it might actually be a central point is because the fate of the Direnni Tower and whether or not it is still structurally standing and active by the end of Elder Scrolls 6 could mean the entire fate of Tamriel as we know it. And I'm going to get into that very theory right now. So yes, today's video is kind of centered around the idea of the Direnni Tower being the central plot point, or at least one of the major plot points of the Elder Scrolls 6. And it involves both the Thalmor and their master plan and the idea of the Direnni Tower possibly falling or being put into harm's way somewhere along the storyline of the Elder Scrolls 6. Now, this topic is really cool because I've already kind of covered it in my last theory video, will the Thalmor team up with the Akaviri? But if you have not seen that video, I will cover the basics of what the Thalmor's master plan is, or should I say the plan of most of the egotistical High Elves, I should say, the Altmer. So, the master plan of the High Elves is to return back to godhood, and to do this, they would either need to do one of two things. Remember or learn the teachings of Ariel, who knew the secret to becoming I should say a divine, or some sort of godlike being, in Aetherius, or they would need to destroy all of Tamriel by destroying the towers that they would have used in the original ritual. The thing about the teachings of Ariel is that they are lost to the Altmer. They no longer are in possession of this knowledge. Therefore, they cannot do what Ariel did and become divines like he has. See, like I said, the teachings of Ariel allowed the Altmer to become divine, or at least go into the planes of Aetherius and become divine as they are. The thing about it, though, is that, again, they lost the knowledge, but this knowledge and this technique actually involved what we would call the Towers of the World. The Towers of the World are these pillars or these high structures that basically hold up the plane of Mundus and its structural stability. If all of these towers were to collapse, if all of these pillars were to fall or be deactivated in some way, shape, or form, then all of Mundus and Oblivion and all the other realms will collapse in on themselves and return back to the primordial-like state that they were at the beginning of creation. This would also undo all of creation and undo all of the titles and other such things that are basically applied to a lot of the mortals and a lot of the divines and the Daedra that live within the planes of reality, such as Oblivion, Mundus, and Aetherius. Now, the theory that the Ultimar have is that if they undo all of creation, that their race can return back to the Adric state that they were at the very beginning of creation, before Lorcan had tricked a lot of the Aedra to basically give up their power to make Mundus, which is the realm of mortals. And technically, the Aedra were a little bit too late. A lot of them fled back to the plains of Aetherius. Some of them stayed around the plains of Aetherius and Mundus, somewhere in between in Oblivion, and the mortals that were stuck there that were drained of their power slowly basically turned into the Ultimar and the elves that we know today. A lot of other creations and such as Man, the Khajiit, the Argonians eventually popped up as well, but a lot of the Ultimar especially, and a lot of the elven beings from the beginning of time that eventually became the Ultimar, were not happy and wanted to return back to the divine state after Lorcan had tricked them and basically, for a lack of better words, screwed them over to live as mortals instead of gods. It's essentially the idea of, like, you have a bunch of really cool stuff that you keep around your house, and you're like, man, look at all this cool things. I got arcade machines, cotton candy machine, I can make a freaking, I don't know, I can make an entire pie with this special machine right here or whatever, and suddenly someone comes in and it's like, hey, you can make millions of dollars. All you gotta do is let me use that stuff. And then he breaks everything. And now you're left with a bunch of broken stuff. And you're like, but I had all this cool stuff before. That's basically what the Ultimar are thinking. They're like, we had all these divine powers and abilities, but we were screwed over by Lorcan. So they want to return back to that state for that exact reason. So in order to do so, they would either need to learn the teachings, like I said, of Ariel, which they can't do. But these teachings involved using the towers of Tamriel or Mundus, and returning back to Aetherius. The thing is, though, that now that they no longer know the teachings, these pillars are now seen more as prison cell bars, holding the Ultimar and other such races that would like to use these techniques. They are preventing them from returning back to the place they feel like they rightfully should be, and now they want to tear them down and undo creation so that they can return back to the state, like I said, that they feel they should be in. So yes, now that we have the plan of the Thalmor and the Ultimar out of the way and explained, what exactly does the Direnni Tower have to do with any of this? Well, the Direnni Tower is one of the few pillars of the world that exists on Tamriel. It is actually one of the few that hasn't been destroyed or deactivated yet, but it is also probably one of the most tricky to deactivate or destroy. See, the tower is magical, made of adamantine. It is a really strong, powerful tower created by the Aedra and kept up to date by the Direnni clan, which one of the members, if I'm not mistaken, currently cannot leave it and is trapped inside of it. The tower is probably one of the most difficult ones, like I said, to deactivate, also due to the fact that it has many traps, many puzzles, and many such things that actually stump a lot of the people that try to enter it. It either kills the people that enter it without, any knowledge of how it works, or most people just get frustrated and leave. So deactivating it would be actually very difficult, and destroying it, to my knowledge, would require a lot of power. So the Thalmor would probably have to have a huge plan and a lot of intelligent people to try and deactivate it. This is of course assuming that no other race on Tamriel ever finds out what they're trying to do. We know the Khajiit follow the Thalmor very, very respectfully, because they believed that the Thalmor brought back their moons during the crisis where they had disappeared. If you don't know, the Khajiit worship the moons and rely on them heavily for their cycle of, I suppose you could say, birth and other such metamorphosis. The way that the Khajiit body and anatomy works is that if they are born under a certain moon, then they are in a certain form and they take up a certain anatomy. So some Khajiit born under a certain moon will look like actual cats like in real life, and some will look like tigers, some will look like just humans that have a little bit of hair on them and ears, and some will look like the ones we see in Skyrim and Oblivion. It all depends upon that. But when the moons disappeared and they came back, the Thalmor took credit for them returning, and the Khajiit followed them very, very respectfully. So I highly doubt the Khajiit would ever do anything to try and fight against the Thalmor, mostly because they're too blinded by loyalty at this point. But the Bretons don't hold such a high respect, especially if you consider both Hammerfell and Daggerfall at this point. The Bretons don't really hold that much of a respect for the Ultimar, and the Red Guards certainly do not. The Red Guards and the Ultimar despise each other at this point, probably because the Red Guards had to kick them out of their country back when they tried to invade, sometime during the beginning or end during the beginning of the 4th era, not the end of the 3rd era. But yes, there is a lot of bad blood between the Red Guards and the Altamir. There is a lot of, I suppose you could say, iffy kind of blood between the Bretons and the Altamir. And right now, getting into that area and doing any sort of shady business would be very difficult, especially if being kept under constant watch. If any of these races find out that the Thalmor are trying to undo creation, there could be another major scale conflict on our hands, and that could very well be the central plot point of the Elder Scrolls 6, is maybe the Thalmor want to get to the Direnni Tower, but everybody else figures out what they're trying to do, and now everybody's teaming up to try and stop the Thalmor before they undo all of creation. This theory, though, does rely on the idea that the Thalmor will be the central plot point for the Elder Scrolls 6, and it is not confirmed who even is, or we don't even know anything about the plot at this point of Elder Scrolls 6, so everything's up in the air, everything could happen, and everything could not happen that I'm talking about. So who knows? I love doing these speculations because, honestly, it's really fun to really just kind of guess. It takes me back to my childhood days where I would used to guess what this would be about because I'm so excited. When we get more information on the Elder Scrolls 6, obviously a lot of these theories will be a little bit more evidence-based by what we see in trailers and stuff, but at the moment we haven't seen anything more for Elder Scrolls 6. But this theory does sound pretty plausible. The Direnni Tower has not been addressed since Daggerfall. It has made an appearance in online, but a lot of the major locations within Tamriel have been actually put within the Elder Scrolls Online. And honestly, at this point, it's not out of the question that such a cool plot point like this, like the Towers of the World being actually exposed as the Thalmor's real plan, as in the games they don't really talk about this that much, it's more of external lore that was kind of written upon by Michael Kirkbride and others such, and honestly, it's all still there, it all still makes sense, and it's all part of the lore to a point, but it's never acknowledged in the game, and acknowledging it within the game would make the Thalmor much more of a threatening, I suppose you could say, antagonist to the series, as honestly, the idea of the Thalmor wanting to undo creation just so they can become gods really does sell the idea that they're egotistic, and it really does make their whole goal a little threatening, because if they win, everything disappears, and you, Sovngarde, the Nords, the Argonians, the Hist, everything from the Empire to everything you love about the Elder Scrolls suddenly just disappears, and I don't think anybody within the series would actually want that. So it makes the Thalmor that much more of a deeper enemy. And again, that's why I like this theory a lot. Okay, everybody, this has been Infinity Break, bringing you guys the Direnni Tower theory. That's what I'm calling it. But yes, this theory seems pretty cool. I would actually like to see something like this within the Elder Scrolls 6. I want to see the Thalmor become more of a big deal. They weren't at the central plot point of the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, but they were there. But they weren't exactly really shown off as a major threat. They were more like this annoying powerhouse in the background that caused a lot of the Civil War nonsense that was going on. But that was about it. If we could see something like this, if we could see their plan being thrown out there, and see them actually take more of a central stage sort of position against all of Tamriel, I would actually be all aboard for this. It would be really cool just to have this all-out war and the fate of all of Tamriel and all of existence in general. Not just Tamriel, Oblivion, Aetherius, all of these different planes of existence are suddenly thrown into the fold. You might even have to team up with Daedra, and they would probably lend you their strength so that you can undo all of the nonsense that, you know, all of the Thalmor are trying to cause. This idea is really cool, and I hope to see it within the Elder Scrolls 6. But for now, I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you guys, like I said, enjoyed this theory. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And until then, stay with me. Play well, eat well, and of course, live well, friends. I hope you guys go out there and strive to break infinity, and I hope you guys have a nice day, night, evening, wherever and whenever you're at. Take it easy, guys.